Usually the islands. That's where you are.
Yeah, I go out to my parents are out there, so I go out there to visit
Oh,
them, and especially with COVID, they don't. It's been hard to see them, so I go out there whenever I can. And
are you from there originally?
no, from Calgary. Well, born in Edmonton, but I
Yeah.
don't usually tell a lot of people that.
I
And
hopefully you're a Flames fan.
oh, I'm a Flames fan. I was only there for 10 days.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't really count it.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't count.
It doesn't count. It was just there for it was a temporary visit.
That's awesome. How's
Yeah.
life been? I mean, how's your journey going with everything?
It's going, man. Like
Yeah.
it is what it is, right? Kind of take each day as it comes, and sometimes it's better than other times, and other times it's worse. But what do? You roll with the punches, do what you got to do, and
Oh, for
keep
sure.
going.
In the cold, is it affect or does it affect you more?
Definitely, yeah. Cold flares everything up. Not really flare ups, but more like everything's tighter and heavier, and just more sensitive. Like uh, hot's hotter, cold's colder. So my nerves are already on fire. So cold's like brutal.
Yeah. I love your hoodie. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah, I had it made. Yeah.
Now, so for the listeners, there's a wheelchair and the stages to getting back up and
Yeah.
being strong. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I mean, I think it's all about owning the story, right? Owning the
Hmm.
journey. And it's kind of where I was and where I'm at now.
Are you at your peak right now as in terms of push and everything? I mean, God, good Lord, your pictures, it's like beast
Yeah.
mode.
Uh I don't know, peak. I think there's always more to do, right?
Yeah.
Always more to accomplish or bring or
Hmm.
so I don't know. I don't know if there's like as far as my recovery goes, I don't like it's hard to say where I'm at. I always tell people I'm at probably 75%, 70% of where I was. And then some days it's like I'm at 40%, and then some days but it's like I don't think that part will ever really change.
No.
So you bring what you can to each day, right?
When you for the listeners, how did this all start for you? What, your journey is so inspiring every time I see your photos and what you're up to and inspiring others to push forward in life. Um, it started somewhere, and that
Yeah.
courage obviously came from within. There's external voices that once said, well, you may not be able to do certain things in life. You've surpassed that. You've proved it to them, and most importantly, to yourself. How did you find that courage? And maybe we can start off by telling the listeners a little bit about your story and how we got here today.
Sure. In July 5th of 2015, I was at the Stampede with my family. Just like any other person at the Stampede, I was carrying my daughter around on my shoulders and hanging out. That night, came home, barbecued. I remember it was Sunday night. Put the kids to bed, got them in bed, did the nightly hangout, chill, do your thing. I went upstairs at about it was late, probably about 1:30 in the morning, and went to plug my cell phone in and lied in bed and felt this pain in my neck, like on the right side. That's something that I've never felt before in my entire life. I thought it was just like a cramp. So I got out of bed and I went downstairs because I knew I'd be kind of stretching around and trying to. I didn't know if it was a knot. Like it was really extreme. And then try not to wake everyone up. And my wife came downstairs. She heard me and she asked what was going on. And I just told her there's this pain in my neck. And I can't. It's just not getting any better. And then between the time of the pain and maybe 10 minutes later, my whole right side shut down. Somehow I made it over to the couch. My wife phoned paramedics. EMS came and I was off to the hospital. They thought it was a stroke. They did a bunch of tests on it. It was no stroke. I was coherent. I was still able to speak. And then they diagnosed me with a rare neurological condition called transverse myelitis. So it attacked my spine and it damaged my spinal cord from C2 to C7, inflammation. And then that was it. Yeah,
Leading
it
up
was
to it, though, was it ever painful or out of the blue this thing happened?
completely out of the blue. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was no
There was
signs
no,
ahead of time where you're like, oh, my back's always hurting or my spine's in pain.
No, nothing. Like there's always like usual, muscle
Hmm.
aches and cramps, but throughout your body that you never really so there was really no lead up, no red flags, no signs of anything. It just hit.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What was
So
your mind like at this moment in time, going in the ambulance, entering the hospital? I mean, I just don't understand. You must have been so afraid.
yeah, I honestly thought I was dying because this is something new. I didn't know I couldn't move my right side. I was completely paralyzed. Um, Went in the hospital and I remember asking the nurses that were taking me in for the CT. It was a rush. And I said, I need to see my family. I need to see my family one more time. In my mind, this was it.
Mm.
And then honestly, it was weird. It was like when I found out that I wasn't gonna die, I was fine. I was like, okay, that's okay. And then now we go. Now we just deal with what this is, right?
Were you
And then
always involved in fitness and taking care of your body and mind and soul?
yeah, I was always an active guy. I was an athlete growing up. I was kind of working out with people, doing all these things. It wasn't as big of a priority to me. It was a bit of a focus. It was all for different reasons. Back then, it was just general stuff, right? Nothing specific, nothing crazy. I'd always post things on my page like, oh, let's work out and stuff. And I think to some degree I wanted to be a motivational guy. I wanted to kind of push people and I think all that kind of helped in this process that I was facing now. Was like, well, it's just, we're gonna fail as many times as it takes to figure this out.
Good Lord. Now, how old were you at this time in 2015?
37.
Oh my gosh. So you enter the hospital, they diagnose you. Did they diagnose you that evening or that morning?
I was probably 2 days later. I had a CT early in the morning. And then I was up to the ICU or the ICU unit on the 11th floor, neuro.
Mm.
And then they had a neurologist team come and tell me that they're going to give me in for an MRI. So it was probably maybe later that day or early the next morning, they got me in for an MRI. And then that's when I was assigned a neurological team. And then they told me what happened and what the kind of plan of attack was going to be. First, it was just trying to reduce the inflammation, make sure it's not going to continue to attack. So they stopped that. And then it was, a lot of steroids
Yeah.
for a couple of weeks, and then plasma exchange. And then they were just doing physiotherapy and just trying to get me to basically operate with just one side.
Oh my God. And were you in pain during this process?
No, so the whole time I was in the hospital, which was 7 weeks, there was really no pain. It was discomfort. I mean, I couldn't move. I couldn't feel anything.
So at
And they
all, you
told
could
me,
not move at all.
no, completely paralyzed I think I didn't regain any movement on my right side for about 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
And then it
And
was
this
just a
was
flicker.
was it certain vertebrae down, or was it entire face, shoulder, arm, all the way to your feet on the right side?
Neck to feet, like a line drawn down the middle of my body. So shoulders, arms, hands, everything. So it affected bowel movements,
Yep.
things just there's no connection, right? So it was bigger than just the movement.
Oh, for sure. What about mentally? Were you there, or I mean, you're
You
so
know,
drugged up as well.
yeah, well, yeah, a little bit. I wasn't too bad. Honestly, I think I was okay. When I realized that I wasn't dying from this, I was good. I kept positive attitude. I kept kind of pushing. I was excited to go to physio. I felt like they kept putting a ceiling on me, and I kind of thrived off it. And I was like, to me, that's a challenge. You're telling me I can't do this, and it was a push and a push and a push and a push. And I don't know. You get one chance, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's see what we can do. But mentally, I was okay. I was good at that point. Surprisingly, mental challenges came kind of later on as challenges. But in the hospital and at that time, I don't think I was as afraid when I realized I still had a chance. to be here.
What kind of ceilings were they putting on you? And I'm guessing these are the doctors, these are the nurses.
Yeah, it was just very limiting. Like, oh well, we're bare minimum. We're just gonna get you to operate with left side. Get yourself from chair to bed, bed to chair, certain things like that. Relearn how to write with your left hand. Simple things. They were just trying to do one-handed, which was fine. But they kept looking at my charts and then doing my neuro exams and just saying like, well, this is it. You know, you're gonna have to learn to live with these disabilities. This is basically as far as you go. We just need to get you to the point where we don't have to care for you. And that's in your head. And then I'd sit in my bed at night and Google things and try to find stories that kind of were similar to mine and related. It's like success stories. And there really wasn't any to the degree that I had the issue. So I honestly kept telling myself, well, if there's no story, I'm going to be that story.
And how many months did it take you to realize, okay, I'm going to start playing with my right side and micro movements here and there to say, let's push forward. Maybe I won't be 100% on this side, but give it a shot.
Yeah, I honestly, my approach was that way from the start. So as soon as I had any sort of movement, I was focused on doing everything with my right side, everything I could. I would sit in, like when I got my hands working again, I would sit in my bed in the hospital and I would just try to untie laces and try to tie laces and try to untie laces and try to tie my shoelaces. And I would just do that because my motor skills were just off. But I didn't want to have to relearn. If I'm going to relearn something, I wanted to relearn the side that was off rather than a new side or the side that I wasn't dominant before. It's like it's the old saying, use it or lose it. So if I put all my focus on relearning my left, I'm going to completely ignore my right, and I don't know what progress would be, right? So it was, for me, it was important to continue to do everything I could with my right side, just as much as I could, whether it was breaking glasses or, I mean, to this day, I'm still doing things, right? Like on purpose, with intent, with my right side, so that it's remapped and I'm okay to go for the day.
Do you use strength grips to work on your forearm? And
yeah, I used to. Now I'm in the gym doing more stuff, but that was when I was coming out of the hospital, and the first stages of kind of physio and stuff was all like grip strength, foam, just squeezing foam, different textures of foam, trying to hold water bottles. So everything you could do to hold it or to grip something, because I'll lose grip. Everything feels like I'm squeezing it as hard as I can, whether I am or not. So unless I was looking at it, I couldn't tell what was happening.
Right. You know, it's crazy because you could have been placed in a box. You were already against the wall. You could have just said, all right, this is what it is. I'll listen to the professionals and guess work on my left side and not my right side. If you had focused on what they had said, what would be the outcome today? Not just on a physical note, I think on a mental note, you would have caved in on certain things in your life, maybe externally from this problem that you're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I had a great team of people.
Yeah.
My first neurological team they were fantastic. I think the problem with our system is that they don't emphasize potential as much as they do the charts. They go off the charts. So I think it would be easy for someone to look at a neurologist or this person who's administering plasma exchange and all these other 15 or 20 specialists that are saying, well, this is it. It would be really easy to believe them and then do the bare minimum. I could see why people do it. I just refuse to live my life till 37 years old, fully functioning, and then have this take all that away. Like there had to be something else in it. So I had to find it. But I can see, like, I see people being discouraged off, like a coach or a teacher or something. So you're having all these professionals tell you can't. That's really easy to buy into that, You just have to believe in your own height. You really have to believe in what you're able to do. And that's basically it. And just keep chasing that.
Humans are extremely powerful and strong. That will,
Yeah.
was that
Yeah.
was that always within you, even prior to what happened, or was it built or activated during this time period?
Yeah, that's a good question. I talk about this quite a bit. I think everything leading up to this kind of prepared me for it. Like subconsciously. I just don't. I always was a guy that had like sometimes I'd have a chip on my shoulder, right? I felt like I always had to prove something, whether it was to myself or like I wanted to make someone proud, my parents, um, teammates, whatever it was. My coaches. I always felt like I had something to prove when I cared. Every kid's gonna joke around and do stuff, but I really sometimes I needed to get that, take that loss to be like, well, I know I can do better. I didn't need to lose and then come back and prove it. So I think that is kind of like my approach to it was I wasn't deterred by them telling me I couldn't do it, and which is weird. I was fueled by it. It frustrated me because those charts don't show you what I'm willing to try to do. Or like you don't know the person that's inside that's willing to, like the heart, like the willpower. And that's why I always tell people like this is way more important than anything else. Your mindset is way more important than any physical attribute you can possess, because that's the only thing that's going to keep you going when everything else shuts down.
Crazy. I mean, you prove it. Now, are you at par, or every day it's still a struggle to keep going? Is there moments where you break down? I mean, we're still human beings at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it came in waves. Like it's been almost 7 years.
Yeah.
So, the first kind of year was a big push. There was a lot of things going on, and I had to go to occupational therapy, and they always told me like you're gonna, there's gonna be pain issues. And at first I never had those pain issues. It just didn't, it wasn't there. And I was kind of fresh when I was out of the hospital, but getting to live in this situation as much as I am now, that pain came, and the spasticity and the nerve issues, and it's all stuff that is an everyday battle. Like I will never be 100%, and I'm aware of that. But every day is tough. Every day I have to remap movements. Every day is pain levels. There's always a pain level. It depends on how high that pain level is, where that pain is. I really need to focus every day on what is the worst part to get through. So every day I wake up, I'm tight, I'm in pain, and I need to work through movements, remap movements, steps. I'll go to the cupboard and grab a cup with my right hand. Just simple things to make sure but the pain level, like it's chronic pain. It doesn't go away. Spasticity is hard because it's tight on my right side. So it tightens up everything, and I'm aware of it, but my left side will often compensate. So I have to be consciously aware of like mobility movement and things like that, and what's being activated, what's not being activated, to avoid being hurt, having some joint, take over a load that it shouldn't, things like that.
Do you do yoga?
You know what? My doctor prescribed me yoga when I came out of the hospital. Prescribed me yoga and prescribed me massage therapy. But I have done yoga. I should be more consistent with it. It's such a beneficial thing.
No, for sure. Was one or your right side, was it in terms of mass versus your left side? Was there a difference that you could visibly see?
Oh, absolutely. In the 7 weeks I was in the hospital, I dropped about 30 pounds. And I looked really like almost deflated on my right side. I was very weak. And yeah, everything was gone because I just wasn't moving anything. And that was a long 7 weeks of trying to do stuff and doing things physios telling you not to do.
Especially when you're so active. You're an active guy, so you're just like, I just need to get out of here. I just need to go.
Yeah, I wanted to do everything I could to get home. Was the first thing, and then after that was kind of take each step at a time. Right? What's next? What's next? What's next?
Could you imagine if this was happening right now or during the heights of the pandemic? family couldn't come by, or
I thought about that. Yeah, that's a hard thing to do. Like, you know, to be like I felt isolated in the hospital, even though I had visitors. You know, I had my family came every day to visit. I had friends that come. There was a lot of time I was by myself, but you know, like, yeah, to be that isolated to that degree under these circumstances, man, that's not a good thing.
no, no. What do you do nowadays when your mind tells you, Chris, you ain't shit, you're not going to be able to do this? Because that narrative can come up.
Yeah.
What do you do to
Um,
overcome those challenges and say, you know what, try me?
yeah, that narrative comes up a lot. Whether it's in myself or from other people.
Mhm.
Um, it's hard. I think everyone's gonna meet these
Yes.
moments to some degree in their life, right? On whatever scale it is. There's always going to be that internal thought of like self-doubt, can't do it, can't do it. It's frustrating, it's hard.
Mhm.
You have to just, we're adaptable. Like we're adaptable to stress. And I think when we're in the moment, we're not thinking about the next step. We're not thinking about what happened. We're in that moment. We have a choice. And I think I don't make that choice all the time, but I try to be conscious of it, is to not react and kind of reset. We're allowed to reset. So if it takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever time, a day, you got to take a step back and reset and just really visualize where that wall is that you just hit and what you want to achieve is on the other side of that wall. And that wall is not indestructible. So you can find a way around it, through it, over it, around it. And mentally, it's that we always have a choice on how we respond to any given situation. I think perspective to me was huge. And I tell this people all the time, it's not necessarily what happens or how bad it happens. It's, you got to look at it in a different light. You can look at anything a different way, whether it's true or not, as long as it's enough for you to be like, fuck this, I got this shit. Then look at it that way. You know what I mean? And find out what you can do, because unfortunately we can't always have a script on how to get through challenges. And a lot of times we got to just figure it out with what we know and learn it as we go.
Do you think people have a hard time taking the first leap into bettering themselves and their quality of life through fitness and an active lifestyle? I mean, someone could see you, Chris, and say, wow, I can never be that. Like, look at Chris's physique. It's built. And God, you got to probably be so dedicated, and you got to sacrifice all this food and booze and all these things. Is it possible for people to start with day one? Because oftentimes that's the hardest part, is day one, I think.
Yeah. I think it's easy for people to see the hard part in things, especially when it's new. Like your first day of school, you'll find every reason in the world not to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're looking for a reason. You're hoping like something happens and you don't have to go to
snow
school.
day.
Yeah, you're hoping for a snow day. Exactly. Yeah. But I think I had one in my entire life growing up.
Yeah.
My parents
It's probably the best day of your life, wasn't it?
It was like an all-day gym class. Yeah. I think it's hard because it's intimidating, especially when something's new for people. And especially in social media, man, I hate it because people will compare themselves. It's so easy to compare yourself to someone that you think has it better, or you think is easier, or you think something, and tell yourself, wow, it's going to take too long. Mm-hmm. And maybe it will take too long, but honestly, it's that first step that is all you need to do to create that momentum and shift your energy. Like everything takes time. Anything worth having takes time. And we're going to struggle in everything. Like people that are great at math failed math tests. I don't care. Somebody failed a math test that's a math genius. These things are going to happen. And yeah, and you just gotta, man, I don't know. I comparison to me is, I think, the worst thing for people to do. They compare themselves to other people.
It's inspiring to say, is, well, if he can do it, despite the challenges he faces on a daily basis, why can't I? You know,
Yeah.
I haven't got paralyzed. I haven't had these things. So that's inspiring for somebody to say, well, if that can change someone in an instance and that person got back up, why can't I even just start? Right?
Yeah.
It's so funny when you brought up the comparisons on social media. That is so true, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
You
It's
see
just,
couples, yeah, couples. I mean, they're saying, well, oh, look at those two people. They're out on a beach and they're just enjoying themselves. Look how happy they look. And here we are, just watching Netflix and hanging out, eating popcorn. God, they
yeah.
must have such a great life.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
realize that person probably took a billion photos to get that one fake smile in that photo. I mean, sure, there are genuine happy moments, but when you see
Yeah.
it too curated, it's not real.
No. No, it's not like it's a highlight reel, right? Social media is people's highlight reels. They're going to show you the highlights, and that's fine. But it's when you start comparing your life to someone else's life
Mhm.
that you can't. Like, this is your journey, and you can get guidance in a script to some degree, but after that, there's going to be things in life that you have to make the choice, and it might be hard, but make that choice, right? Take that step. You want something, like, you have the power. You choose what you're going to do with this moment. Like, it's a choice. It all comes down to a choice.
How do you
And
live
I
in the
and
moment? How do you live in the moment without going back in time? Frig, I could have done this differently, or and beat yourself up on, or look too far in the future where you forget today. How do you stay here?
I think for my situation, so July 5th, I didn't know that July 6th was going to be this life-changing experience. And if I did, I probably would have enjoyed that moment a lot more. I probably would have given a lot more to that moment than I did. So I think people need to think, like, let's say fitness, for example. It's not all about muscles and six packs and, eating chicken and broccoli all day. Fitness is what it's relative to the person. It's if you're happy and healthy in your head and you're moving and mobile and you're doing everything, eat healthy, and yeah, you're indulging. You gotta live life. But if you're doing the best you can for you in that moment, then you're winning. Like, you're doing good. And there's always more, and you just got to find it.
In July 2015, prior to what happened, are you thankful for certain things that you weren't thankful for back then, or are you more appreciative for what you have today? And on that note, has success changed in your mind? As what is success meaning? Not about money. It's not about chasing this. Well, money's important to live, but
Right.
it's also about chasing peace. It's about chasing other things.
Yeah. Yeah. Success to me is I don't care what you drive. I don't care what house you live in. I don't care what kind of clothes you wear. I don't care. I really don't care about any of that stuff. I don't care what's in your bank account, what your annual salary is. Success to me is like it's peace. It's, are you happy? Are you good with where you're at? Are you chasing goals? Are you able to do things? Are you here? That's success. Every day is an opportunity. And I think people always say, like, you have to make the most out of every opportunity you're given. And then people sit and wait for an opportunity. When we start to think like every day is an opportunity, then you'll give everything you can to that moment. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but everything I do today is going to prepare me for that regardless, one way or another. So I think success it's all about, it's peace. Like, we look at how the world we live in now. It's madness. It's crazy. Everything going on in Europe. It's, success is happiness. Success is being willing to embrace challenges and grow. And I don't know, success is effort, like.
How do you let the external world not fuck up your peace?
I I focus on what I can control and leave the rest up to. I mean, there's only so much we can do. For me, it was important to do what I could. Success for me personally is impact. If I can make an impact on someone's life, I'm successful. I made it, like, I'm good. If one person does something better, pushes themselves, or finds their own potential, or changes their mindset, or adjusts their perspective, or anything, find some hope. That's, to me, that's success. You know, like every client that I train I'm invested in their goals. Like whatever their goals are, whether it's just I want to drink beer without getting fat, or I want to excel at this sport, or I want to, whatever it is, that's my goal, and I'm on board with them. You know, and that to me is success. This is when I know that they're achieving something, and I got to be a part of it. That's success to me.
If someone wants to get sessions by you, where do they go and how do they find you, Chris?
You can just contact me on Instagram. I accept no limit, and I'm training out of the Absolute Baseball Academy right now. But Instagram is probably the best way to reach out, send me a message, and yeah, we go from there.
Where is the baseball or academy?
Off Crowchild Trail, right by McMahon Stadium there.
Is that where the Calgary Cannons used to play?
Yeah, those two domes there.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's where they do a lot of the UFC Dinos, I think, volleyball training as well, don't they? I think.
Yeah, the Dinos baseball teams
Baseball
there all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. And
Yeah.
are you there daily? Does someone have to book a time? How does it work?
Yeah, reach out, book, and
Yeah.
we can schedule in. Schedule's kind of up and down all the time, right? So we always find room for everyone that wants to get some stuff done, man.
Absolutely. And anybody that's kind of got a story of getting started, can they reach out to you and maybe see how you've been able to do it and maybe talk through it with you?
Absolutely. I would love that. I mean, I always tell people, like, my real life started when July 6th, 2015. Everything else was just a lead up. This is where, and it was important for me to find acquire knowledge and provide inspiration, you know, and I wanted to impact people and help people, and whether it was mindset, physically, that was a big thing for me. So I embrace that. I would love, I've had people reach out from all around the world on Facebook about certain questions and things. And I mean, yeah, absolutely. Send me a message and we'll work it out.